Hello Vobes Show viewers. I haven't done a video on here for some time, and I think the last one was when my other channel got banned because I was touching on sensitive issues, and then I had to use this channel, which had been lying dormant, I admit, for some time, and I had to sort of put up some content to show where I was, and then it garnered quite a lot of followers, so I thought I ought to be putting some content on here. Now, the lovely Julia may well join me on some of this content, but of course we have the English couple, which you may or may not have seen. The link will be in the description, which is Julia and I basically having a bit of fun as an English couple. So today I thought I would do a video about why I smoke my pipe. I've been smoking my pipe for about 8 or 9 months, something like that now. There seems to be a huge resurgence actually in pipe smoking, particularly in America, but as well it's coming over here, I believe. And there's a lot of people on YouTube who are putting up videos about certain pipes and blends of tobacco and all of this. And I thought, well, I'll contribute to that because it's a lovely hobby, I think people call it. I wouldn't necessarily call it a hobby myself, but you can get absorbed and buy lots of stuff, and you can go and try out loads of different types of tobacco, and it's one of those never-ending things, a bit like real ale. There's so many real ales out there that you never know. You'll never get to the end, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, there seems to be a lot of that and a lot of resurgence in it, and there seems to be some more pipe makers coming onto the thing. And there's been this attitude that smoking is bad. And it's interesting because smoking was all the rage, wasn't it? We saw it in the old films, and I was very much inspired, I think, when I dabbled with pipes in my 30s. And I was getting, pipes and trying them out and sort of going, oh, yes, I quite like this. I like the imagery, I suppose, more than anything else. But I always thought I looked far too young to be smoking a pipe. And of course, people have been smoking a pipe for donkey's years, all ages. There's no, you don't have to look old to smoke a pipe. That's a silly thing. But that was my notion. As a kid, I lived near a farm, and we used to go over the fields, and we would see in this farm all these old clay pipes that had been broken. And I could picture in my mind the ploughman with his horses and his plough, doing it in the old-fashioned way with a pipe hanging out of his mouth, an old clay pipe in, I don't know, the 1800s, whenever it was. And they would snap and he would discard them and then get another one. They were sort of disposable pipes, clay pipes being the cheapest. I don't actually have a clay pipe. I did used to. And so for a while I collected up a whole load of pipes, and I've since lost them. I know they're in the house somewhere, and the other day I did have a route round, and we'll come back to that in a minute. But I was very much wary that smoking was bad for you, because there seemed to be a change in the narrative that in the old days, in the 50s, you were never alone with a strand and people would smoke this, that and the other. And it was encouraged, and of course the government was taking a huge amount of taxes on the back of people smoking, which they still do. But then about, I suppose, 20 to 30 years ago, there was this change to say, oh, no, smoking is bad and you ought to give it up. Now, if you watch my other channel, which might have ideas which are a little bit more, let's say, conspiratorial for the sake of argument, theories, it looks like, and I've read some books on this, one book particular called Smoke Screens by Richard White, shows that many of the tests and trials to prove that smoking was as unhealthy as they said and led to lung cancer were very biased, and that actually it wasn't quite as bad as they made out. Now, I'm not saying for a moment that smoking is a healthy occupation. Clearly, just breathing in nature's air is a lot healthier and not contaminating yourself with anything. But that said, is it as dangerous or anywhere near as dangerous as they make out? And are there benefits? And I believe that there are benefits. We live in a very toxic environment as it is, with the air being filled with all sorts of poisons from big industry, from aeroplanes and so on. The water, of course, has got fluoride and things in it, which may or may not, for the sake of balance, be of any use. And of course, the electrical magnetic frequencies from our mobile phones, from the masts outside, from the microwaves that we use, from all sorts of radio waves. We live in this toxic environment, and, you know, people are getting ill. But anyway, I don't want to get into all of that in this video. So this video is really about, for me, why have I returned to the pipe, and what benefits is it, and why do I smoke it? So one of the things I have done recently is, as I say, I've started smoking different pipes, and we'll come on to some of those in this. But I remembered that I had these pipes that I used to smoke, and I know I didn't throw them away, and I have them somewhere in my house. Now, I've been in my house for nearly 35 years. And over that time, things have been moved around, put into boxes, taken out of boxes, put into other boxes, shoved here, shoved there, put into storage, up, down, all over the place. And I did go hunting the other day to see if I could find the pipes, because I have a very lovely meerschaum pipe I was desperate to find, as well as the others, and some pipe stands, which would be quite useful if I could still find them. Anyway, I couldn't find all of the pipes that I had, apart from one. And here it is. Now, this pipe is called a Carey Magic Inch, and it was designed, I think, around 30 odd years ago. It's an American idea, and the pipe has vents, air vents in the stem, and inside a little filter, and then you get the briar bowl and so on, the shank, and then the shaft, I suppose. Anyway, I thought that's interesting. It was all dusty. I hadn't smoked it for 30 years. So I cleaned it up, and I smoked it for the first time the other day after 30 years. And I thought I'd give it another smoke today. But you can buy the filters. I found that actually the vents put in too much air into it, and you're not getting a good draw. So I've actually covered those with a bit of tape at the moment. It's not the best solution. So I get a better draw, and we'll have a look at that. I've got all sorts of different pipes, you know, a bent pipe like this. This, for the sake of argument, is called a hard castle, and it's a very nice pipe. I've got this little pouch here, which I bought, and inside the pouch, you unzip it. It's my carry pipe. I can take that with me in my van when we go to places. And I don't know if you can see in there, I've got a couple of pipes, a little pipe, which is very nice, and a slightly straighter pipe. I tend to prefer the straighter pipes. This one is very much like Jacques Tati, who smoked a pipe in his Monsieur Hulot films. I think that's what originally made me feel I wanted to buy a straight pipe. And then there's a pouch here that you put your tobacco in, and then other compartments for your tamper and things like that, and we'll get onto that. Actually, Julia bought me this very beautiful little leather box gift when we were out somewhere, handmade, and in there I keep a lighter. This is a Zippo lighter, and a tamper. Has that got any fuel in it? Yeah. So that's quite handy, and a tamper is the thing that you dampen down the tobacco as you're smoking it, so that you keep it compact well. And I have a very beautiful pipe that Julia bought me. She's very generous, in this lovely little case. And this is a meerschaum. And look at this. This is a beautiful pipe. It's a meerschaum pipe. This is meerschaum, which I think they call sea foam. It's like chalk. It's actually crustaceans that have been pressed, mostly found in Turkey. And then this is an acrylic stem, slightly bent. And it's a beautiful pipe. It's a beautiful smoke. The advantage of meerschaum is that it's an absorbent material like chalk, and so any of the sort of, as you smoke, any of the wetness from the tobacco, which may often gather at the bottom and occasionally come up the stem a bit, is absorbed by the meerschaum stone, and in time it discolours. It goes into a sort of yellowy, reddy brown, depending on how often you smoke it, a bit like this stem. And so the one I was looking for, which was a meerschaum, which was a straight pipe, but it was already yellow, but I had made it a bit yellower by the smoking that I'd done. It was very lovely, and I know it's somewhere in the house, and I will find it. Anyway, I won't smoke that now. That's a beautiful one, and it gives you a nice cool smoke. And as I say, there's that one and that. So I want to smoke this one in today's show, despite the fact that it's got a bit of tape round the old vents. I want to say something about tobacco as well. When you buy tobacco, you can buy it loose and you can buy it in tins, obviously. In the UK, and I don't think this is the case in America, or it may be much smaller, blasted all over the blooming tins are these messages from the government to give up smoking and the damage and all this sort of nonsense. And it's all over at the back, on the sides, everywhere. They really don't want you to smoke. Now, I have my theories on why they don't want you to smoke, and it may have a connection with something that was people were persuaded to inject into them. But I'm not going to go into that on this channel because I don't want to, don't want to lose viewers. But the nicotine from the tobacco that people used to say was addictive and harmful. Well, that's not true at all, because on the one hand, it's been proven now that nicotine isn't addictive. It's the stuff they put in the tobacco that makes it addictive. And nicotine is in things like bell peppers, potatoes, celery, in vegetables. And we have nicotine receptors in our body. So it's not the great evil that everybody's said. And people have been smoking across the whole world for many, many years. And many smokers, of course, have lived to a ripe old age. So what I wanted to say is I cover up those subliminal messages. I don't want my subconscious mind to keep reading that and thinking it's an instruction so that I will get ill. So I take that off. So I'm going to light up my pipe. It comes in tins. So I'm smoking, but should tell you, I suppose, Peterson's of Dublin, I think they are. Yes, Dublin. They're an old firm that have been going for a long time and make their own pipes. Early morning pipe. And this is what they call an English blend. You get aromatic blends, and then you get sort of more natural blends, which are a little bit stronger. And this is called an English blend. And on YouTube, you'll find videos on how to stack a pipe, or pack a pipe, I should say. And people have different methods. Some people bang it down. Some people use their little finger. It's funny how YouTube will have millions of videos on just pipe smoking. It is quite absurd, really. But I think it's great to see people smoking a pipe. The tobacco is of much more superior quality than cigarette tobacco. You're not smoking the paper, which can be infused with other things, which are probably not good for you. It's better tobacco, and you get a bigger choice of what you want to smoke. And there's also organic tobacco out there. Now, I'm probably telling some people how to suck eggs. And the aroma from pipe tobacco is so different to cigarettes. And I love it. I have a wood-burning stove. I mean, I'm a fan of smoke, I suppose you could say. Anyway, I've packed my pipe, and I'm going to give it a whirl. So as to why, let's get to the why then. So on the one hand, it can protect me from certain, well, this is where it gets into the sort of conspiratory stuff about the injection that people may or may not have had and the spreading that might come in. It does protect you from that on the one hand, because the nicotine interrupts in that. I can't say too much more because I don't want the channel to get demonetized. Well, it doesn't matter if it's demonetized, it's not even monetized. But it does that. But more than that, it's a great. It's like sipping quality brandies or whiskies and things, you're sipping a tobacco. You don't take it down, obviously. By the way, I've got matches. I've got that Zippo lighter, which is a petrol lighter. And thanks to a gentleman called George, who sent me this lighter, which I'm getting on with. This is an official, this is actually by Peterson's as well. It's an official pipe lighter. And as you can see, the flame comes out the side. Like that, so it's much easier to light. Because the risk of using a conventional lighter is as you lean it on there, it can burn the rim. And you can see on the top of the pipe where it's been burnt more one side, because you're lighting it like this, and the flame is going across instead of going down. So pipe smoking is something that you're supposed to do slowly. I mean, you could puff and puff great clouds of smoke, but what will happen is you'll get probably burnt back of the throat, or tongue bite as they call it. Pipe smoking is it's a soothing thing. It's contemplative. Everyone says this. It slows you down. You get into a contemplative mood. You can think about things. I like it when I'm either reading or when I'm just sitting alone quietly. I'm not one really that plods about the house, as you see, as they call the old codgers, with their pipes almost permanently glued to the mouth. I'm not one of those. I find it as great for thinking time. I think to myself, I'll sit down and have a pipe. Now, it's not addictive, because I can go days without having a pipe, not even having the urge, not even thinking about it. And then other days, think, oh, I might have like a piece of chocolate or something. You might say, oh, actually, I quite fancy a piece of chocolate. And so I might fancy sitting down and having a cogitate, pondering on something, pondering on a problem. Sherlock Holmes used to have his problems to solve, and he would say, oh yes, this is a 2-bowl solution, and he would sit there and smoke 2 bowls. Now, smoking a pipe can last, well, any time really, because you don't have to smoke the whole thing in one go. You can just have a few minutes and puffing and put it down and come back to it, or you could just sit down and make it last half an hour, depending on. Your pipe, if you're talking a lot, and if you're not drawing on it, it will go out. But that's almost kind of part of its merit, really. You don't necessarily need it to be smouldering away on the tobacco that you haven't smoked, especially if you're in mid-conversation. But I just take it in quite lightly. There's the great guffaw of smoke at the beginning. I take it in quite lightly. I only hold it in my mouth so you can still do my nose breathing. And I'll think, I'll ponder, I'll ruminate, I'll cogitate, It's a form of meditation for me. And I just find it very, very rewarding. And it's a very pleasant thing. It's very hard to explain to somebody. It's not the same thing as cigarette smoking. And I think that's one thing that people need to actually get into their mind, that cigarette smoking is a completely different issue altogether. And all pipe smokers say that. They say that there's something more immediate, and for me, I don't know, sort of, I can't think of the words really. There is something, this might sound stupid, I know, exotic in a way of smoking a pipe. There's something more intellectual, cerebral, you might say. There's a connection. There's the coolness of the smoke that you can watch. It's almost a spiritual partaking. I know people will just laugh at that and push back. I get it. It's not everyone's cup of tea, and I don't expect it to be. But we live in a world that is so busy and so fraught, and we don't have enough time to think. And people find it very difficult to just sit and do nothing. And it's the step really to doing that. You've got the paraphernalia of all the bits and pieces that you have to stoke it up and get it going. And then you enter into this very passive phase. You're keeping the pipe going enough. You're enjoying its taste and its nuances on the palate. And you're able to lose yourself into a moment of enjoyment, whether that's thinking about something remotely or being in the moment of actually just smoking it, which is a lovely thing. So that's really why I smoke the pipe. I can't really explain any more. Obviously, there's lots of pipes to choose from, lots of different tobaccos to select to smoke. It's a shame that the government taxes it to the hilt, of course, makes it quite expensive. But I think there are far worse pastimes that you can get involved with. And actually, these pipes, this one, as I say, I hadn't smoked it for 30 years, they are old friends. And there's something about the nature of this briar wood or the meerschaum, which are real physical things that have been around for a bit to get where they are. The tobacco, which is a plant, and I don't know, the culmination of all of that. It's just not an instant world. It's a calming down. It's a slow world. And that's what I like. Maybe it's an age thing. Maybe it's ridiculous. But that's why I smoke a pipe. Thank you very much for watching.